many people think that these are transactional moves. That when he says that he levied 25% tariff on a particular country or imports from a particular country, he is trying to bargain to get something in return so as not to levy that tariff. You don't know. So when the markets behave like this, then it tells Trump that this is not going down very well with his supporters. And it's not just the market. There's a news coming in, like for example from Canada. Canada is decided to retaliate. It's not taking lying down. It's not just the Prime Minister Trudeau, now currently ex-Prime Minister Trudeau, who has told Donald Trump this is a very dumb move. In fact, the politicians across Canada have realized that standing up to America has very good buy-in from the voters. So the Premier of the state of Ontario has declared that he will levy a 25% tariff on the electricity it exports to the US. So millions of consumers in the US will feel the pinch if Canada raises the price of the electricity by 25%. And Americans are boycotting, Canadians are boycotting American produce, whether it is bourbon, whiskey, or American soft drinks, or many things. People are canceling their planned visits to Disneyland and to the Grand Canyon. So Americans are getting the message that this is not some unilateral Trump-driven steamrolling of external opinion, but there will be a backlash and they will be hurt too. And if Trump senses this, that Americans are displeased, he might well change his policy. So the market's negative reaction to my mind is a stabilizing factor which might actually apply some corrective.
No,
But
so you are saying that this could be a stabilizing factor on Donald Trump. He's
yes,
seeing that the markets are in a tizzy, so he will come back to those corrective measures.
yes, exactly.
Okay. So that's a positive indication you are talking about. But Professor Pasha, if I may ask you, I'll come back to you, Mr. Arun. But Professor Pasha, how would you really see this? The markets going in a tizzy, and the various countries of the world really not knowing as to what should be done. Now, today also we saw Commerce Secretary telling a parliamentary panel yesterday that they have not committed anything to US. So, which means that Donald Trump has been saying that India has conceded to reduce the tariffs, and here the Commerce Secretary telling the parliamentary panel that we've not made any commitment to US. So, which means that and he also said, the Commerce Secretary also said that they are working on a long-term broad agreement between India and US, and India may not get impacted by these reciprocal tariffs. How much are we to believe, and who is actually speaking the truth? Is it Donald Trump or our own Indian government? Or they are just trying to ward off this controversy which has erupted because of Donald Trump's unpredictable policies? Yes, Dr. Pasha.
Yeah, firstly, I agree with Mr. Arun. I agree with Mr. Arun on the broad parameters he has outlined on the American economy, tariff, and the zigzag policy of the Trump administration and the reaction from its major partners, Canada, China, Mexico. For quite some time, many people in the US and abroad, have been worried about the elevated valuations among US equities for quite some time. And we're looking for the catalyst for a market correction. So what Mr. Arun has been saying is exactly this, that American stocks were overevaluated and some kind of stability was needed, correction mechanism. So I think we are into that phase. But coming to your point, either Mr. Trump is lying or our Commerce Secretary is lying, or both don't want to speak the truth. There must be somewhere in between. We are caught in a very precarious situation. The United States is one of the largest trading partners. And, unlike from the first Trump administration, we don't seem to have learned anything from his threats to impose a tariff. And, if you recall, in his first administration, he had threatened tariff, and he had called for strict action for those countries which don't allow American products in other countries. So you see, if you study the behavior of China and India, the Chinese seem to have learned and better prepared this time for what Trump is threatening to do or has done. Because like India, China also suffered from the tariffs in the first administration, and they retaliated over many agriculture products, although they agreed to buy certain products. But now they are in a position to create a crisis in at least 8 American states from where they buy soybean, sorghum, and corn and other things, which will put enormous pressure on Trump. We seem to be caught napping, and we still live in the fantasy that America is our strategic partner, Trump is my dear friend, and all of these things, whereas Trump is a cold person, he wants to correct the balance of trade deficit and the growing gap between imports and exports and the increasing debt and the burden of servicing that huge debt of about $37 trillion. They have to pay $800 billion minimum every year to service their debt. And American securities, after some time, people will think 100 times before buying American securities, which will be worthless. So in that way, you see, we are part of the globalization of trade and supply chain and so on and so forth. But we had to take precautions because, on the one hand, we want to be part of the BRICS, which wants greater trade among the southern countries or developing countries, including Russia, China, Brazil, South Africa, and the greater part of Africa and Asia. But at the same time, we seem to be panicking about this threat from America to impose tariffs. Although we can diversify after some time with some effort and energizing our trade partnerships with other countries. But you see, if you see the consumer electronics or jewelry or agriculture products, textiles, and other things, these can easily be diverted to other markets by providing incentives to buyers. So I don't know why we are panicking so much about this American threat to impose taxes